Ladies and gentlemen, it's 4 o'clock in the morning here in the UK. I have a Lewis live from Copenhagen, and we have just been a little bit mind-fucked by Bethesda, who have just finished their E3 2018 conference. Firstly, Lewis, happy E3.
Happy E3.
How
It's
are you
good to
doing?
talk to you.
It is. How are you doing over there in Europe?
Uh, Tired, but the
Yeah.
sun's out. It's bright and sunny here.
I see that you're getting in line for Gamescom very early this year.
Yes, indeed.
So we're going to do this conference as we do every conference, going chronologically through the major announcements, because there were kind of a lot of announcements and then not many announcements, and then there were some big ones. It's a very, very odd conference to talk about. So we start off with Rage 2. More accurately, we start off with Andrew WK introducing Rage 2 with what can only be described as 5 minutes of some of the most awkward nerd metal you've ever seen.
Yeah, no, that seems fair.
It was, the you've seen sort of mega mixes and mashups of celebrities at E3. This was all of that, but in one sitting. It was all of the awkward headbanging, odd drummer, odd people on stage, talented people on stage, but odd people on stage in a video games conference, and then weird, odd, out of place people in the crowd, very passionate people in the crowd, and they kept cutting to Adam Boyes, which was very odd. Like, we get it, he's important and everything, but yeah, very odd. But then they introduced Rage, and Rage actually looks pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, definitely. I think the most exciting thing for me was just the gunplay. It looked amazing. It looked like something I definitely want to get my hands on.
I really liked the movement. The gunplay looked good, but I quite liked the kind of moving from place to place, cover to cover, jumping up and down, and the almost like seemed like a sort of power slide mechanic to things.
Yeah, no, definitely. And like it looked. I guess it's part of the thing that it's not really part of the gunplay, but I guess it's that whole kind of system, the movement system, the camera in terms of the guns, all of it looked really clean and really interesting.
The game was confirmed to be coming out spring 2019, so that's probably early to kind of early mid next year, i.e. we're looking at probably somewhere between February and mid-May at a push, around there, assuming no delays. Hopefully not February the 22nd, which already has 3 games confirmed for it now. Yeah, that was Rage. I thought the gameplay that was shown on stage was far, far better than the trailer that we got earlier this year.
Yeah, definitely. And it got me into it, definitely, actually, because I've been a little bit down on Rage. But I think this kind of got me much more excited. Kind of had like a very Bulletstorm vibe. And I really enjoyed that game, so it'll be interesting to see.
Then we moved on from Andrew WK and Rage to the Elder Scrolls card game. It was announced that the Elder Scrolls card game, I think it's Elder Scrolls Legends, will be on Switch and Xbox One this summer. And then there was more DLC for the Elder Scrolls Online. It was detailed, I believe it was called Murkwater or something like that. The name escapes me, as we had quite a lot of big announcements at the end of things. The DLC was detailed. They were explaining how they've touched the lives of many people, and they're really passionate about the player base they have. I've got to be honest, it was a pretty slow part of the conference, although the dev doing the talking seemed really, really genuine and really sweet. And I think it's a nice little thing when you get sort of really honest devs on stage, especially at a conference this size.
Yeah.
Then we moved from the Elder Scrolls Online to the announcement of a new game. We got a tease of a very, very red trailer with some very, very heavy metal, and the next Doom game was kind of announced. The game is called Doom Eternal, but that was really all we got of it. There was a trailer that showed the Doom Marine and Hell on Earth in some form, which is very clearly a reference to the original Doom 2. Although the actual release of sort of reveal of the game and more details will be shown at QuakeCon. Bit of a flat reveal, I kind of thought here, Lewis.
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting to know it's coming.
Oh yeah,
But yeah,
absolutely.
it is one of these. Um, just the title reveals, and we'll come back to that soon.
Yeah, I thought this was a real shame because I really didn't expect to see Doom announced this early. I thought, it's barely been 2 years out, if that. And I was when they put the trailer on, I was like, oh shit, Bethesda's coming here to do bits. I didn't expect to see this at all, and then we basically didn't see it at all. So I don't know, fell a bit flat for me. And then speaking of falling a bit flat, Quake Champions was talked about,
Yeah.
and it's an odd one because Quake Champions looks awesome, plays awesome as far as I can tell, and has a very loyal fan base. But the presentation of it here really fell flat as well. They talked about the game and the kind of plans they have going forward, how they want to get it to more people, what they want to do to it, and then they announced that to get those people on board, to give you a chance to play it, they're going to release a free trial mode, a trial of the game between, I believe, today, which is June 10th there in America, and June 17th. It's June the 11th now where we're recording. The problem being is that the game has a free-to-play model, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, I think so.
So they described it as a trial mode of a free-to-play game that's currently in early access, and it just felt very mixed, odd messaging there. It felt like that was the bit of the script that somebody should have read twice.
Yeah, definitely.
Then we had some Prey stuff. Lewis, you know Prey fairly well, far better than I do. Do you want to talk a little bit about this?
Yeah, so they announced that Prey now has a few different modes: a survival mode and one other mode.
There was a new game plus mode and a survival mode, which they pointed out were big fan requests. Survival mode and new game plus mode are said to be sort of harder and hardcore versions of the game, and then they went on to detail the DLC that Prey is getting, which is going to be taking place on the moon, and it seems to be a kind of one at a
roguelike?
time. Yeah, although it's hard to say a roguelike because it's not. What's the word? It's not like it's not a persistent world that you die and go back into. It's like I really can't think of. There is a game that reminds me of it. It's almost like Edge of Tomorrow, that Tom Cruise film, where he sort of dies and then comes back to life and learns a bit more, and dies and comes back to life and learns a bit more. I can't think of the game you'd put it in context with, but like where a roguelike is very much about discovering a bit of the world and then picking yourself back up again, because this is procedurally generated. It's more about discovering your way around the gameplay mechanics in the world to use that to your advantage.
Yeah, okay. And it seems very much like you build up resources as you go along, because it kind of like showed the player starting the game over and over, but this time, with a wrench and then with a pistol and then with like some flamethrower thing. So it's good, but I'm always iffy about mechanics like that where it feels very forced, I guess, where you're like, I have to like lose this game at least kind of 50 times before I can actually win this game. But we'll see. It's an interesting one.
And then that gets into a tough balance, because like, do you artificially make it so that you can't win the game the first time round, or do you make it so that it's an odd one. Then we got details on some new Wolfenstein stuff. Firstly, Wolfenstein: The New Colossus is coming to Switch, which is very cool. Wolfenstein: The New Colossus was a very well regarded game last year. It was in a number of Game of the Year talks for a number of large outlets, and more support for the Switch. Bethesda really loves that console, man. Then we also got details of the next Wolfenstein game. It's a co-op game focusing on B.J. Blazkowicz's daughters, who have grown up and fought the good fight, and it's led to the 1980s. It's set in Oktoberfest in the 1980s, and it's set in Paris, I believe.
Yeah, it seemed to be.
Yeah.
Like, is Wolfenstein 1, 2, and when 3 when it comes out just pointless? This is the thing I didn't understand about it. I'm like, surely like our whole goal has been to stop the Nazis, and then it's like his daughter's in like 20 years or whatever, 25 years, and they're like, oh, the Nazis are taking over everywhere. And it's like, surely this makes Wolfenstein like 1, 2, and 3 pointless in some way.
I mean, I don't know. I don't think you'd ever see a game that's like, hey, you did it, the Nazis are all gone. Because, like, that just
Should
means
be.
that you can't. I mean, it'd be nice, but that just means that you can't ever have another one, right?
The goal shouldn't be to make infinite games, though.
No, but it is. But you'll never. There will always be a get out of jail free card.
Okay. Okay.
Then we got a big VR push. Prey and Wolfenstein were announced to be having VR modes and additional solo play VR stuff. So they're not getting VR like Fallout VR, i.e. you can't play through all of Prey. But they announced earlier in the conference that Prey is getting a version of Prop Hunt, which is, I think, a really clever addition to the game. It makes a lot of sense going into it. And Prop Hunt will be playable, or Prey Prop Hunt, which is hard to say, will be playable in VR. And then Wolfenstein is getting an additional mode that will be playable in VR. Just generally, Bethesda really still supporting VR nice and hard, which is good.
Yeah, it's always good to see the VR push.
And then Todd Howard joined the stage after a lot of chanting for him.
Yeah, he joined the stage like a rock star, which is a bit strange, but
that's literally what I've written. Todd Howard getting silly rock star entrance.
yeah, I wasn't really sure what that was about.
So he came on to the stage and firstly made a joke, which was then followed up by a little skit about Skyrim coming to everything, including pages and smart fridges. And I must say, the tone of the Bethesda conference was a little bit awkward. It was a little bit people in suits pretending to be down with the teens and make funny jokes. But that sketch was really funny and very well toned.
Yeah, just to go back, yeah, like the sketch was very funny. I think genuinely probably my highlight of E3, which is excellent. But yeah, genuinely my highlight of E3. But yeah, there was definitely some other moments of comedy in this Bethesda showcase that weren't quite hitting the mark. But yeah, like I really enjoyed that, and for a bit I was like, just a tiny bit. I was thinking like I'd actually not mind the Alexa, like a old school version of those text-based RPGs, but instead it's like talking to Alexa. I'd be up for that.
I could definitely see it working, but at the same time, like, it would be a fucking ballsy move. I could see it working, but it would be a ballsy move.
Yeah.
So we got the details of that and the little joke of that, and then they sort of moved on from that and said, you're all here for Fallout 76, and then they pretty much detailed what Fallout 76 is. So they've been making it. I feel like I have still a really pretty good idea of what this game is now, and at the same time don't.
Yeah, I get that.
They say they've been making it for a while. It seems to me what it is like their version of GTA Online.
Okay.
Like,
yeah.
It's very. There are quest options. There is a story that you can play through it, but the mechanics are mainly there, it seems, to facilitate a multiplayer thing, and that multiplayer thing seems to be based around you gathering more resources by building bases until you eventually get good enough to gather the resources to take over a nuclear missile silo, which you can then use to rain down Fallouty death on everybody.
Yeah. I guess it's very much likely to be kind of similar feeling to something like Rust. You kind of like have these servers that for the most part, you'd run with like kind of like a 2 week running. You know, it'd be like a not necessarily like a 2 week running, but as in like you kind of have these cycles of like everyone starts off and then build bases, and then someone will destroy your base or nuke your base or whatever. So it's kind of cool. And they talked about, I guess the bit that gets confusing is it, they talked about solo and like doing quests, and then it's like the mix of that with Rust and Ark is a bit strange, and I'm not quite sure what it is in between those two.
I mean, any kind of game like this was always going to have a bit of an identity crisis to some extent, because it does seem like the right way to move Fallout, I think. Like, if you have to do one online, I think doing it this way, i.e. it's a survival game, i.e. it has a story mode, i.e. it's not an MMO. Like, the Fallout Online, for example, would not have worked, in my opinion. But it was always going to have an identity crisis because so many people think of Fallout as a hardcore single-player story thing, and I think they've done a really good job of selling this as there is a single-player mode here, but they probably have a little bit more work to do.
Yeah, that seems fair.
They talked more about the base building elements and how this time you can build anywhere and really build a lot more of a kind of home for yourself rather than having to just pimp up a homestead. This is your way of building resources and a base that's actually usable and translates into sort of something useful for the world.
Yeah, and also it's not kind of, I think something they showcased in a few bits is it's like you're not building kind of trash houses anymore. It looks like you can actually build like really quite pretty stuff, you know, you can build pretty houses, not kind of, because Fallout 4 was very nice, but it was like you were building these kind of manky looking houses, you know.
Yeah. The one kind of problem I have with what we saw is I kind of feel like the trailer and the gameplay are a bit at odds with each other. In my opinion, the trailer had this very kind of, you're rebuilding an entire country, you know. They specifically show off bits of civilization and bits of universities and bits of homes and bits of, they're very much like, you're building an entire country, you're going to be responsible for like the education, you're going to be responsible for the infrastructure, you are going to have that kind of founding fathers almost touch to things, whereas the gameplay was a bit more like you're going to be building your story, like you're going to be building your homestead, you're going to be building your resources, and it kind of felt to me like one was the concept from the other.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm watching it too.
Fuck, are they serious?
Ooh.
So to give you a bit of context, whilst we're doing this, Devolver Digital are doing their press conference, and we're not doing a full review of Devolver Digital because last year it was a little bit difficult to review it, but they've just announced that Devolver Digital have just announced that they're working on a game with From Software. Like that's big stuff. Anyway, back to Bethesda and Fallout. Oh, they had me go in for a second there. So, yeah, I kind of feel like the gameplay and the trailer that we saw were a little bit at odds, and I would like to know how one fits into the other. You know, is rebuilding America a quest thing, or is there, you know, if you play for long enough and build up those resources for long enough, will you have the power to, like, found educational facilities, to found those kind of facilities that will then become the worlds of Fallout 3 and New Vegas and 4, for example?
Yeah, see, like, there is this kind of, I don't know, I get what you mean, and I get that, like, the problem I have with it is that on the one hand, it's billing itself as, like, this kind of everyone works towards a goal thing. Maybe, like, you could be, like, in your server and everyone kind of you build your own world together by just existing near each other and being able to build houses near each other. And at the same time, you have this but you can nuke people angle.
Yeah.
And this PvP angle that just kind of goes against that concept of working together to improve things. So I don't know.
Yeah, that was one of the bits that put me off a lot. Was there was a shot of somebody walking out into the wasteland for the first time, really, with a couple of guns, and immediately they get spotted by somebody who then pursues to try and kill them and attack them and kill them. And for me, that was the first point that it dawned on me that was like, oh wait, shit. So wait, an online Fallout game might not necessarily be a pleasant experience the whole time. And I know that sounds silly, that's the point, right? But like a single player story, you play through and you make your progress and there's no risk to it, whereas this time round there may well be a risk to it. And I guess to some extent that's a good thing, like that puts a lot more stakes on it, but at the same time I'm just tempted to play a Fallout game that's not online in that way.
Yeah, totally, I get that.
So that was most of the Fallout 76 content. The only other big thing is that it is, in fact, out this year. It's out in November. It's out 2 and a bit weeks after Red Dead 2, which I think is a little bit ambitious, with this not being a single-player Fallout
Yeah, no, I
sequel.
agree. If this was Fallout 5 or Elder Scrolls, would be in a different place. But yeah.
Yeah, I think this is if it sells well, then they've taken a big risk and it's paid off. If it hasn't, the reason I would say is because Red Dead has kind of eaten up that online worldy sequel that everyone wanted, Mindshare.
Yeah.
And then Todd Howard then said, "Hey, so that's Fallout 76. But we came here to blow our load, and blow our load we will. We've been working on another game. Here's the trailer." And they revealed Starfield.
Yeah, so we pan up on a shot of a planet. I don't know if it was a planet, and a little rocket ship. And yeah, Starfield. Title reveal. Yeah, I still don't really know how to process this one. So on the one hand, we have confirmation that Starfield is a real thing. For a long time now, it's been kind of rumored. It's been confirmed to be a thing that they said, but not necessarily it could have been a mobile game for all we knew.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a thing. But then at the same time, they said next gen. After this game. So, I mean, are we talking is this one in 3 years' time? Is it in 2 years' time? Because it seems like it's likely to be, if you're following Bethesda's normal model, it's at least 3 years, isn't it? Or 2 years? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I could see this being 2021. We've said for a while, I think, and I think you think as well, that's probably when the next generation is going to hit. I think next year, 2019, is probably the last big year of this generation. Then 2020, people are teasing everything and laying the groundwork fully for it. And then 2021, there's the blowout and everything comes out. That seems like a pretty good pathway for it, which makes me think that this game probably isn't for 4 years, because Bethesda never launch.
The other thing you've got to look at is, was it Fallout 4 came out 3 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
So it seems likely that if we're talking a Bethesda game studios game, then another 3 years for Starfield would be likely.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
But the thing that gets me about this announcement is we've known that Starfield is coming because people have been talking for so long about it being a thing. I really don't get why they did this announcement. It was very exciting, and it's great to see it. And I'm, as somebody who's more into sci-fi stuff than fantasy stuff, this is very exciting. I'm really amped to see what this is. But when will we see what this is?
Yeah, exactly. No, exactly. And showing the title is great when it's like a new thing
Hmm.
and something you don't expect.
Yeah.
Um, like even Doom 2 to some extent. Um, but when it's like, here's a thing that you know about, but also it's so far off and we have nothing to show you, and basically it's not a game at this stage. And then all of that kind of wrapped up into one is kind of how I feel about this announcement.
So yeah, so we cut away from the Starfield trailer. The lights come back up, and just as the poor cleaning team finished mopping up Todd Howard's mess from all over the floor, he goes, stay there. I told you I came here to blow my load, and blow my load I will. Here's Elder Scrolls 6.
Okay.
He didn't say it in exactly those terms. He said, "Here's the game that we're working on for after Starfield, and then it's the one you've all been waiting for." And we cut to a trailer of a generic-looking fantasy land being swept
Like
through by a
rolling over
camera.
hills.
Yeah, with some generic fantasy music with a bit of an Elder Scrolls touch to it, and a title that's not a title. So, firstly,
Yeah.
notch up that point. Thank you very much.
So, yeah, Elder Scrolls 6, it's yeah, that's its title for now.
Hmm.
So it doesn't even have like an actual title, which is terrible. Like, if you're going to do a title reveal and not have a title, then like what is that? Yeah, because it's the equivalent of going like, I don't know, Halo 7, whatever. But you know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah, no, you're right. It's like somebody coming out and saying, "Hey, we're working on a Grand Theft Auto game." Like, yeah, we
yeah,
know. Like,
yeah,
of course,
yeah.
like,
This is
fucking, of
totally the
course you
thing
are.
with it.
You like money.
It's totally it. You are completely right. That is the perfect like comparison. Um, and yeah, at the same time, we talked about Starfield being 3 years out. Is this 6 years out? Like what? Like
Yeah, it is and it's worth saying that I think the reason they could do this is because they bought up some studios recently. So they now have 3 studios, which is 3 teams, and this is 3 games. So, sorry. Oh, it's 4:30 in the morning. So they now have
half
three
five.
teams. Oh my god, yeah, I forgot that.
Yeah.
Oh, you poor fool. They now have 3 teams, 3 games, 3 mainline series. That seems like fairly well connected. I'm going to say that the gap between Starfield and Elder Scrolls is not as big as the gap between Fallout and Starfield.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. No, I can
could,
see it.
I could see Starfield being 2021 and Elder Scrolls being 2023.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that happening. But even then, I mean,
Yeah, exactly. It's like, yeah, I can see that happening. Even so, that's a game announcement for half a decade's time.
yeah, exactly. And it's kind of, I don't know. Everyone's been praising Bethesda for their model of like announcing games that are releasing like right now or this year,
Hmm.
or, with Fallout. And everyone's been saying, oh, Fallout 4 is like the way that you hype up a game. And then they've kind of gone, like, as in like only mention a game when it's ready, have trailers that are like show off the entire game when, the first time you show it off. Don't even put like a hint of it out there.
Hmm.
And then they just go, oh, well, here's like this game and this game and this game. Here's like this title without anything. Here, it's going to be 5 years out, 4 years out, 3 years out, whatever. Like I feel the same about if they turned around and went, there's a new mainline Fallout after that one. It's Fallout 5. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sure
yeah,
there
yeah.
was going to be. Yeah, I don't know. I feel so strange about all of it.
I yeah, it's a weird thing. Like, I guess for the people who love that franchise, it's a good thing. They know it's coming, so on and so forth. It just seems like a bit of a wobbly announcement. This whole conference for me, where Xbox really started by dropping some fire, even though it wasn't quite the fire Xbox needed, this felt to me like the conference Bethesda didn't need. Like,
Okay.
To me, they could have done. Hold on, let me pull up my notes. To me, they could have done Rage 2 and Fallout, and been like, cool, those are the two games coming out. Thanks.
Yeah.
See you next year. And I would have been like, that's fine. That's totally cool because Rage looks great and it's coming out really soon. Fallout looks great and it's coming out really soon. We don't know what the fuck Doom is. We don't know what the fuck Quake is. We don't like the Prey DLC. I guess is really good for those people, and actually that makes a lot of sense. And you could tie VR into that, but like I don't. Starfield's cool, but it doesn't mean anything at the minute. Elder Scrolls is cool,
Yeah,
but it
exactly.
doesn't mean anything. And if they cut out Andrew WK, that would be 5 minutes of our lives we'd all get back. So
Yeah. No, I know, and I think I do wonder whether they've. See, I said this to you afterwards, and I'm just wondering if they're like winding down their E3 presence in some way. I know it sounds strange to say that, but it just kind of feels like this was like a. If you were gonna like never come to E3 again, this is kind of what you would do.
yeah, I get you. Actually, I think there's two ways to look at it. One way to look at it is them going, here's us laying out 5 years of stuff, and we're gonna stay with you for those 5 years. Or it's their way of going, we've done 4 years of E3 conferences. We had games lined up for those 3 years. We're gone for a bit, but I'm probably more inclined to say it's the first one.
Yeah. Okay.
How do you feel about the conference? Good, bad, negative, positive, generally neutral, chaotic?
When it started,
lawful?
I was quite good. I think overall, I don't know, 7.5 out of 10.
Great.
So,
It's pretty strong for you. Although also you love Metacritic, so that's like a 3.
yeah,
Yeah.
7 out of 10. It's like a 3. Yeah.
I thought it was a very E3 conference in that it was a bit awkward. It was very all over the place. There were some reveals that were a bit silly, but generally it was quite exciting.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's our second of our E3 content for this year. We're going to be reacting to every one of the conferences as they happen, except a couple of them will be split up. You'll get Lewis's reactions to Microsoft a bit later today, for example. You'll get our reactions to various conferences tomorrow, either together or split up, depending, because we're in different countries and it's fucking 4 in the morning. What do you want from us? Have a lovely day. We'll see you for day 2 of E3. Thank you if you've shown us any support at all. You can find us at Games Upcast on all the channels, Facebook, Twitter, iTunes, YouTube, all that jazz. We'll see you tomorrow, and until then, you alright there?
Yeah.
The game's up. Go to bed.